Want a better job? Start using XLOOKUP. When you have your resume sent out to many employers, if you put VLOOKUP, you're sabotaging yourself because they're going to shrug and realize so does everybody else. XLOOKUP is a far superior lookup tool and it's more recent. So what it tells the person that's reading it, if they're not up to speed, that you know something they don't, which gives you the leverage. And also they'll know that your skill set is up to date. It'll immediately tell them that, yes, you do know Excel very well. Let me show you the comparison between VLOOKUP and XLOOKUP. What we have here is company A with sales invoices that's in their accounts receivable module. And what we have on the next tab is a vendor that is getting the same invoices from the sales company. This is the vendor that needs to pay these bills. And what you want to do is look up these vendor invoices and see if they match the sales invoices numbers. Now, in this situation, I'm going to just look up a certain dollar amount. But one of the biggest limitations with VLOOKUP and XLOOKUP is if you notice here, I've got multiple invoices with different dollar amounts. Chances are on the other side here, I'm going to have the same kind of stuff where there's going to be multiple invoices like for instance here. What it's going to do is it's going to start from the top and it's only going to pick the first one. It'll ignore the other ones. So look, you've got a 3211 here versus 3089. So it'll only pick this guy up. One of the biggest limitations of VLOOKUP is the unique identifier that you're trying to match these up to has to be on the left side of what you want to bring in. If it's on the right side, you have to literally move this over in order for it to work. And the other thing you got to do with VLOOKUP is you have to count the columns to see, okay, if I start here and I want to look up this value, I need it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 columns over. Now let me demonstrate. We go off to the right here. You go equals VLOOKUP. I'm going to go look up this invoice in the payables section. And I'm going to say, give me anything that's in here and return the number. That won't work. You have to actually do the whole range. So you go VLOOKUP, you bring it all the way over here, grab that number, and then you got to pick your range from here to here. See, it says accounts payable E through I. Then you got to go comma. Then you got to count the columns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you also have to say true or false, because if you want the approximate match, you say true, but we want the exact match. So we're going to say false. We hit enter and boom, there they are. Now look, we already got issues here, some problems. You can see how these have brought in the very first one of this invoice. If I go over to accounts payable and try to find the very first one, you'll notice that there's where it got the number. But if I filter on just this guy, then you'll notice that even though it's the first one, we have a lot of them. So that is a limitation for VLOOKUP and XLOOKUP. In this situation, I probably would have used some ifs, but I'm not going to deal with that right now. I want to show you a comparison between VLOOKUP and XLOOKUP. We're going to come over here and say equals XLOOKUP. It's going to say look up the value, just like the VLOOKUP. Nothing's changed yet. You come over here, you go grab it, you hit comma. Now saying look up the array where. I don't need to pick a whole section of an array. I don't need to count every column. I'm just saying, tell me where that number is in here, comma, and it's saying, okay, what do you want to return? I just want it from here. There's an addition to this. When you hit comma, it's going to ask, well, what do you want if it's not found? We have those pound NAs. So if you just put a 0 here, saying if I don't find it's 0, you hit enter, and now I can even actually add it up. There you go, 78,000. I'm going to take this guy now and create the limitation that VLOOKUP has by moving it over here. So here it is, it's on the right side of our data. Now I'm just going to go and say equals XLOOKUP. I want to look it up here, column K, and then I want to bring in H. And if it's not found, just say not here, like that. Hit enter, and boom. Here's another limitation. Both of these have issues if the formulas aren't correct. The ranges have to be the exact same size. So K and H, I pick the whole columns. But if I say XLOOKUP, and if I just take a range instead, if I want this, and where do you want it from? And I'm like, from here. See, now I went overboard. I went over, and if I say put a 0 afterwards and hit enter, it doesn't work because you've got to have the ranges exactly the same. So if I just change this to a 2, see, done, no problem. And most of our zeros because my range is very small. One last thing. The beauty of tables is it's referenceable again. So if I say XLOOKUP and I say, come over here, I want this guy, where do you want it? And I click over to accounts payable and I just hover that little black arrow. See, it's not there, but if I start scrolling up slowly, there it is. I click on it. You want invoice number. And then I can even type out the rest. I can type in inventory. There's the table. And I can say square bracket. I want to bring in total cost. Close the bracket, hit enter, and boom, done. If I can't find it, put a 0. And there we go. That's the big difference between XLOOKUP and VLOOKUP. And that's also the reason why you want to have XLOOKUP on your resume and not VLOOKUP.